Hello everyone, you're welcome to my channel, and today I'll be showing you how to create a simple CRUD REST API where you can accept data, uses the create, you can read data, you can update, and you can delete data. Maybe you have a front-end kind of application and you need a server side somewhere where you want to push some data to and perform the create, read, and update and delete RESTful operation. Then this is a good place where you can basically see that. And I'll be using two different program languages to implement that. We'll be using Java and JavaScript to be precise. So anyone you are much more comfortable with, you can work with that. Or maybe you know how to create it within Java or JavaScript and you don't know how to do it in the other way around, then this will be a very good place for you to watch this video. And if you don't know how to create either using Java or JavaScript, then this is also a very good um, video for you to watch. And then I'm actually going to be making this very easy to understand for anyone, even if you don't know how to write code, you don't know any programming language at all, then you can just stick around because I will explain all the basic steps on how that is being implemented, and this is going to be very straightforward, very easy to wrap your head around with. So for the Java part, just as you can see over on the slide here, the technology we'll be using, the stack is we'll be using Spring Boot for the web application. We'll be using Hibernate JPA as our ORM, and then H2 database. And then for JavaScript, we'll be using Express, SQLite, and SQLite. So let me basically explain what those stacks are and how you can use them. So for the JavaScript part, we'll be using Express, which is a very popular framework for building a web application using on JavaScript. And Express is very common. There are other couple of framework out there which you can use to build your web application, but we'll be using Express for this very demo because it's very easy to work with. It's very simple to work around it, and then it offers you a lot of functionality, a lot of features, and so many other things as well, which you will see in the practical section. And then we'll be storing the data on a database, and then we're not going to be writing the SQL queries because that is not major what we'll be doing. So for that, we'll be using an ORM, SQLite, as you can see on the slide, which help us to do most of the raw SQL queries. So SQLite offers some kind of method which under the hood take care of the query, take care of all the SQL operation for us under the hood. And then we'll be using we're not going to be working with a real database because I know some of you might not have that on your machine. So we'll be working with an in-memory mock database, which is very similar to MySQL, Postgres, or every other SQL database out there, and that is SQLite. SQLite is a lightweight serverless self-contained SQL database engine. So we're just going to be installing that into the project, and we'll have that will enable us to carry out all the full operation that you'll be doing in production or working with a real database. And then some of the stacks using on the Java part, we'll be using Spring Boot. Spring Boot is actually a Java framework for building production grade application, just like we have Express on JavaScript. We can work with Spring Boot on the Java part. And then we'll be working with H2 database, just like we have SQLite on JavaScript. Then H2 database, so you can use that as a substitute on your Java stack. It's also an in-memory database for development and testing. So it provides you the functions, the functionality to do the mock test, just like you're working with a regular SQL database such as MySQL, Oracle, Postgres, and anyone you can think out there. So the good thing about all this in-memory database which we have here is that and with the ORM you can write every of your logic, nothing's going to change. And if you want to switch to any database type, maybe MySQL, Postgres, or Oracle, then you just have to be changing some basic few items in your config folder or in your application resource folder if you're on the Java stack. And then will be the URL we'll be using for the Java is Hibernate JPA. It works very similar to the SQLite. So it's a Java persistence API where it helps us to manage relational database in every of our Java application. You don't need to be writing all the raw SQL queries, the create, the find by ID, the from, and all of those SQL. So they reduce those a lot of work for you, the developer, and then so you can function more on the business logic and every other functionalities. So that is basically about those stuff we'll be working around with in this very demo. Now, setting the project up using Express, JavaScript, just a couple of steps we should be doing. First, you need to initialize a Node.js project using npm init. You see that once we move into the practical section shortly. And then the other thing, after initializing your Node.js project, then you're going to be installing some of those packages you'll be working with in this project. And it's just basically 3 packages because we're going to be making it very, very simple and basic for you to work around with. So we're going to be installing Express, which is the main framework. We're going to be installing SQLite, we're going to be and then SQLite, which is the in-memory database, and then we'll create the basic data structure, Express server structure, which you will see in a couple of moments. And then we're going to be creating our routes where we'll have the CRUD operation being all the HTTP method, the get, post, put, and delete, where we'll be integrating that into the project, and then we'll associate all of this route to their controller function. For the get, we'll associate it to a create to a fetch function. For the create, we'll associate that, which we're going to be creating that function in a moment. So you see how you get the function, how you can manipulate your data, and all of that, and then that is how basically to be done. Then for the database part, how the SQL work, how we're going to be integrating our SQLite ORM with the SQL database. So we'll be setting that up as well. We're going to be defining our model for the data entity, and this is going to be like the table which we're having in our database schema. And then we're going to be migrating the model so we can create our tables and then every other integration. And so that is how that's going to be. And then we'll also integrate that into Express CRUD API. So that is basically it. And then for the Spring Boot, that is going to be quite easy because we'll be bootstrapping a project from the online Spring Starter Initializer website, where we'll be putting every of the setting will be there, every dependencies. The Spring Boot made it kind of very easy for us. We're just going to be adding all those dependencies on the website, and excuse me, then we'll just download the file and our project is good to go. And then we'll define our entity class from the downloaded Bootstrap project. Then in each of the classes, we're going to be creating the service class, the repository interface, the controller class, and the entity class. We're going to be putting all the necessary annotation. And once we get there, I'll explain to you what each of these annotation do, what how you can use them, their functionality, and every of that. You'll see that in a moment in the practical section side. And then after putting all of this, then we'll create the REST controller endpoints for all the CRUD operation. Then we inject the JPA repository to perform the database operation so we can store and persist our data. And then that is pretty it. That is in summary, that's what we're going to be doing. And so just stick around. In the next video, we'll go to the practical section and you'll see how this works, and then we'll compare the JavaScript REST API and then the Java Spring Boot REST API. So thank you very much for sticking around, and then in the next video we'll go into the practical section.